Man, you come right out of a comic book.
Pulp to Pixel Media.
Exploring the media multiverse of geek culture.
He meddled in things potentially.
Hi, I'm Gotham Shran, creator of the science fantasy comic strip, The Last Earth. Thanks again for joining me on my art process as I walk you through the backstory and art process and tips and inspirations of the series The Last Earth. All right, so today, like I said, we're on week 13, which is month 4 of the series. So issue 4 or chapter 4, I haven't decided. Here we're working on the new cover. And so this is actually, for me, is an interesting kind of take on the cover. I'll be 100% honest. I am not happy with how the cover turned out in the end. It is, I think it's more the color, but I still feel kind of like the camera angle isn't quite selling it really well. So I definitely think I might want to redraw this one. You could see earlier in the video here, there's the 2 previous cover ideas I was starting to work with. And I honestly think that first one I could have really made work better. But part of it was you would see other characters, and I'm trying to be conscious of like not leaking the characters too much here. Although this part of this month, I'll be introducing a lot of new characters as we kind of effectively do the diabolical meeting at the villain's base in this month. Hopefully not giving too much away. I should also note that this is a little behind. This should have come out actually last week. But I produced actually something else last week instead that I put out. But just, working with a new schedule, trying to figure out, now that I don't have that lead, I'm sort of working as I got to come up with it on a weekly basis, which is good. Actually helping me work on like time management and how to manage a project like this for, get better at it in the future, hopefully. But it has put me a little behind, so I'm still working on that. So I am working on week 15 right now. Week 14 just dropped yesterday. So I'll have a video for that next week. And we'll go from there. Definitely was trying something with the color here on this cover. I think I was trying out some like pastel brushes or something that wasn't like the normal. I usually like to use paint brushes, the digital paint brushes there. So that's the case. All right. So here we're introduced to Silver Shark, who is the first of the sort of the super villains, if you will, of the series. Or more to the point, this is like Skeletor's evil warriors. The whole thing is built, again, remember, if this is your first episode, my whole series is built around this sort of toy aesthetics of the 80s. I draw and design these characters with a lot of like repeating motifs in design, specifically because I wanted to look like they were all from the same molds, or use the same buck, which would be the term they would use for the sort of like base figure that they were building on top of. Now, in the original panel, I had started to draw this character design, but I hadn't really fully settled on it. And so I went in and covered it over in ink. And here I'm just taking off the ink and by doing that, redrawing the character. This was a good process. I actually don't usually work subtractively, digitally, or in general. I'm not always working subtractively, and so I'm trying to do a little more of that, as so taking away that black space instead of adding black space to it. And I thought it worked pretty well. It was a little time consuming as I kind of figured out the logistics of it, but eventually I did get it to work in a way that I found very very pleasing, and I think turned out very well. So I'm starting to actually do that more. It's nice. You can over ink and then just like chip it away and shave it down and pare it down with the eraser, because you have perfect erasing, unlike what you would have with physical media. Um, I do feel bad at him not doing these in physical media though. I do have the sketches that I usually do, all the pencil stuff, but I don't have it. It's not in full physical media form like the way I would like. So, this is it's a little sad. I mean, I wish I had those physical pieces. If anything, if this whole thing does do well and take off, those are things that are art pieces you can sell in the future. So future me would be happy for it. But working digitally is great. I mean, my entire art studio is basically my iPad and a pad of paper that I do my initial sketches on, like just a random sketchbook. Well, actually not too random. I got it for Christmas, so it was very nice. So it's a very nice quality sketchbook. But it's still, that's it. But this was a good design for the character, and Silver Shark. So I'm definitely leaning into kind of the follow ups to Thundercats, the also rans, Silverhawks, and there was a shark one whose name is totally escaping me right now, but it was sort of like they were on a water planet and they would transform into these kind of like shark mutants so they could like fight underwater, but it still had the exact same sort of like transforming supervillain, and it was all like copy pasta all the way down, which worked for me for Silverhawks, but I think by the third bite at the apple it was like, you might be pushing that one a little too much. It's kind of reverse of He-Man if you think about it too. The Mumra and Monstar, He-Man and She-Ra, they're the ones who call down power to transform into a more powerful super self, whereas in the Silverhawks and the Thundercats, it's the other way around. The villain is the one that does that. I don't know if I've put that together. I probably have, or it's probably been pointed out to me, but I just realized that again now. Oh, I would like to point out in this one, well, two things. One, we get the first naming of the character Silver Shark, and two, we have a reference to Skull Rock. That last one, I have to say, is like one of the things I like about it, or is that one of the problem solving parts of it that I work on is always like that debris arc that you can always see in the sky. Well, you shouldn't always be able to see it depending on where you face, and it should also be in different positions depending on where you are in this, the surface of this continent that they're on, or area of the world they're on, I should say. And so I haven't quite sort of, I'm working on vibes, on making sure it has some sort of logical consistency. So hopefully it's working. Now here, this position, so this is one where we're kind of getting into like the dark volcanic part of the world. We've been in this desert, which I kind of imagined as an ocean that had a dried out ocean, just a sea of sand. In fact, I'm planning on calling it the Sand Sea, where he is. I might workshop that name. We'll see. But it is, it's been this sort of bright, very desolate, flat areas with a lot of just like, there are mountainous parts, but they're far away from each other. This is where we're kind of in closer to all these mountainous parts. I haven't quite built an overland map in my head, but I do have this idea that, just sort of Star Wars style, that there's like, where each planet really just reflects a single environment. And so you have like, when you want to go to different environments, you go to just to a different planet. You want to go to an ice planet, you go to Hoth. You want to go to a desert planet, you go to Tatooine. You want to go to a, forest planet, you go to Endor, so on and so forth, back and forth. And I think that's, is something in this world. And in very like, again, like toy area, like each area has got a different kind of people in it with different designs and toys, and that all reflect, the older toys they come from. And so we'll see this. Oh, I should add, this is actually one of the first times I'm using the chalk as a media in the background to create this kind of like sort of dark, sooty air, but like not necessarily completely pitch black, but definitely like blotted out sun and darkness, Okay, so we're coming to the end here. And here's a little bit of trivia on this. Like, so if you take a look at the eye, you're going to see the image of Skull Rock is in the reflection on her eyepieces and both of her eyepieces on her helmet. This design, actually, I should say a little briefly about this. This design entirely came from that helmet vibe. I must have been seeing something with the Rocketeer recently or something, because it's totally that Rocketeer fin. But I just kind of, you know what it was? I think it was the eyes and then the fin. And I was just like, oh, what if this was like a shark? But then what if it was a flying shark? And I was like, oh, well, there you go. Flying shark as a supervillain or as a He-Man-esque character. Oh, and also the last bit here, you'll see, I wanted to start adding some sort of fauna and flora and fauna to it. So you saw those little like flying dragons. Thanks again for joining me on my art process journey as I create my comic strip, The Last Earth. You can follow me on the web at www.pulp2pixel.com and on Instagram and Twitter at pulp2pixel. See the show description for links to my LinkTree, my merch store, and donation site. See you next time when we return to the distant future of The Last Earth.